Welcome, my name is Ryan, and this video is on how to make $40,000 a month if you just follow these 3 simple steps. And in order to make you think that what I'm telling you is actually true, I have set up my beautiful, expensive office to demonstrate credibility, because it's more important that you perceive me as being a rich and intelligent person than me actually giving you good advice. Okay, I'll shut up now. Yeah, this is my new office. It's a work in construction, if you're wondering why I'm sitting in an uninsulated home. So, yeah. And also, that was a subtle, well, not so subtle dig at a number of different YouTubers who will not be named. Anyways, what am I actually going to talk about today at, what time is it? 8:15 a.m. July 4th in Canada, where even though it's supposed to be like at least 20 degrees Celsius here, it's actually kind of cold, so I have to have 3 layers on. Yeah, what am I talking about? I'm going to try and keep this one short. Have you ever asked yourself the question, am I smart enough to be a programmer? Am I smart enough to be a physicist? Am I smart enough to do this thing that I want to do, or to learn this thing that I want to learn? Have you ever told yourself, I'm just not smart enough. I guess I just can't do it? Maybe you told that to yourself after you tried, and whatever you're trying to learn turned out to be really difficult. I am going to give you the tool that I used to deal with those sorts of self-limiting beliefs, I guess I'll call them. And yes, I had to deal with them, even though some people put me on a pedestal and think like, wow, how do you learn that fast? And how are you capable of explaining multi-modular software architectures and blah, blah, blah? Yeah, the truth is I've had to work really hard. Anyways, that's not what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about how to deal with that initial self-limiting attitude, which in my case, that's the first boss I had to slay in the video game of becoming a programmer. Because believe it or not, when I started programming in high school, I actually wasn't very good at it. I wasn't talented at memorizing jargon keywords. So I couldn't remember how to structure a for loop to save my life, and I basically solved every problem using just masses of if-else statements. So I was pretty bad at programming when I first started. So bad that after I left high school, I did not intend on being a programmer because I thought I sucked at it. So how did I deal with that? I want you to pick something that you want to do, but either you know it's really difficult and you're not sure if you're good enough to do it, or it's something you've told yourself, there's no way I would ever be capable of being good at it. In my case, that would be drawing things. In your case, it might be programming. So I want you to imagine that skill or field of study or job or whatever. And say to yourself, probably the next thing you would say to yourself, there is no way that I could become the best person, the most skilled person in this particular thing on the planet. There's no way I could do that. Fair enough. I'm never going to be Picasso. I was born with hand tremors, so my hands shake all the time. It's not alcohol withdrawal. They really do shake all the time. I have a very early reference experience when I was 4 years old in this thing called preschool. It was something that happens before kindergarten, where the teacher handed out these basically little sheets of paper and then some paint for finger painting. So I got given this stuff, and I put my fingers in the finger paint, and I basically just like swished them around and made this incomprehensible bunch of swishes along this paper that looked like crap. And then I look over to the kid sitting next to me, and at 4 years old, he's painting a submarine. So I think to myself, at like 4 years old, wow, I suck. So probably this thing that you picked, you might have like reference experiences or memories from way back, thinking to yourself, damn, I suck at this. Okay, so how do you deal with that? How do you deal with the negative, self-limiting kind of belief of, man, I don't know if I'm smart enough at X, or I am terrible at Y? I want you to do a little thought experiment. Oh, and this is something I did. How do you beat the boss, the first boss in becoming a programmer or whatever, becoming good at some skill? You have to beat the self-limiting belief. All right, how do you do that? You imagine to yourself, okay, let's just do a hypothetical here. Let's just imagine, how good would I get at this particular skill if for the next 10 years, no matter what, for 2 hours a day, I practiced that skill. I studied that skill. I did the thing. Now, if you're delusional, you might say to yourself, I would become the best in the world. If you're delusional, you might say to yourself, I would still be terrible at it. That's not true either. If you're rational, you would say to yourself, well, I might not be the best. I probably won't be the best. That's very, very unlikely, because some people really are ludicrously talented. I've met 2 people in my programming career who learn orders of magnitude faster than I do, and some people think I learn fast. But yeah, there are people out there who will humble you, and the best thing to do is not to be jealous of them, but to be proud to know them and to think to yourself, wow, that is awesome. There are people like that out there. So yeah, you might not become that person. You probably won't. But you would be pretty good at it. I don't care how bad my hands shake and how many bad memories I have about how terrible I am at the skill of drawing. If I practice drawing for 2 hours every day for 10 years, by the end of that, I am very, very confident that I would at least be pretty good at drawing. Now, the thing about something like programming is that you can get stuck on what seems like a simple problem for 2 whole weeks. And when that happens, it's happened to me many times. Usually it's actually like a configuration problem with your IDE or something like that. Not so much like an actual programming problem you're trying to solve. Although that does happen too. When you get stuck on something like that, the tendency is to basically blame yourself and say, I guess I'm not smart enough. That is how you lose. That is how the boss kills you. You need to understand that if you really want to be a programmer, or if I really want to become an artist, or if I want to go and study physics, it's not going to be easy. If this is something that you're really not actually naturally good at, it's not going to be easy. You're going to have to put in thousands of hours of effort. So that's basically all I wanted to ramble about today. The next logical question is to say, okay, cool, I recognize that if I just work really hard for a long time, I can at least become pretty good at this thing. The next question is, how do I work really hard for a long time? And that's a very difficult question. That is a question that I have spent the better part of coming on to 7 years of my life, my adult life, trying to figure out and refining my answers to those questions. And I do have some answers to those questions. I'm not David Goggins, but I'm a lot further ahead than I used to be. But that is a discussion for a different video, and I wanted to keep this video streamlined as streamlined as my videos ever are, about this question of dealing this topic of dealing with the problem of not being sure if you are smart enough or talented enough to become good at something. Hopefully that was useful rambling. Again, the whole thing I'm trying to say here in this video, just imagine to yourself through some magical process that you actually did study this thing consistently for a number of years. Yes, you will become pretty good at it. You might not become the best, you won't be the worst, but you can actually become good at it. So hopefully that was useful. And yeah, peace out.